Hi everybody. Today I'm going to tell you a surprise story using my very favorite collaborative board game called Tall Tales. I'm going to be randomly drawing some settings from my stack of environments cards, and then I'm also going to draw some props and characters from my story bag. So, once upon a time, there was a little boy named Boogie Brown. Boogie Brown was an awesome kid. He was 10 years old, he had 3 best friends, and he was really neat. He was good at a lot of stuff like adding big numbers and drawing dragons. And he was pretty bad at some stuff too, like keeping his room clean and not making angry faces when his mom fussed at him. But Boogie Brown lived somewhere really cool. You want to know where? He lived in the White House. And if you don't know, the White House is in Washington, D.C., and that's where the President of the United States lives. That's right. Boogie Brown's mom was the President of the United States, which means that she was very, very important. And Boogie Brown was called the first son, and he got to meet lots of really important people and go to big parties. Well, living in the White House was really cool, but it wasn't the coolest thing about Boogie Brown. The very, very coolest thing about Boogie Brown was his magical blue book. Now, I know that everybody has a really special book, one's their very favorite, but Boogie Brown's blue book, it wasn't just special, it was honest to goodness magical. Every time he opened the pages, it told him a brand new story, and he didn't just read the story, he actually got to go live the story. And every story was different, no matter how many times he had read them after reading the book for years and years. Well, one night at the White House, there was gonna be one of those huge parties, and this one was gonna have fireworks at the end, so Boogie Brown was really excited. His mom said that he had to wear his itchiest, fanciest suit, and he'd also worked hard to learn how to say, "Hello, how are you?" in about 12 different languages so he could talk to all the important people. Well, while he was getting ready for the party, he decided it was time to put on his suit, so he took his magical blue book and tucked it into its special hiding place right underneath his pillow. So he went over and he put on his suit, he was getting all dressed, but right as he was buttoning the last button, Boogie Brown got that feeling that you get sometimes when something's just not quite right. So he went back over to his bed, peeped under his pillow, and guess what? His book wasn't there. He rushed all around his room looking, under all the pillows, under the blankets, under the bed even, and in the closet. Couldn't find it anywhere. Well, here's the thing about magical books. When they get lost or stolen, they don't want to stay lost or stolen, so they send messages to their owners to help them find them. Well, Boogie Brown knew this, so he decided to close his eyes and clear his head of all of his thoughts to see if his blue book would send him a message. And guess what? It did. At first, when he had his eyes closed, all he could see was the back of his eyelids. But then, the more he looked, eventually, he saw a bright pink, beautiful flower in a brown pot. Well, Boogie Brown had never seen a flower exactly like that before, but he did know where there were lots of flowers at the White House. So he went running out to the big, huge rose garden in the White House's backyard. He looked everywhere for his book, behind every plant, under every bench, in every nook of every tree he could find. He couldn't find it anywhere. So he sat there and wondered, what am I supposed to do next? And then he squinted his eyes and saw, just out of the corner of his eye, under one of the bushes, a paintbrush with some bright blue paint on it. Well, that's really weird. Blue paint doesn't belong in the rose garden. Well, Boogie Brown wasn't exactly sure what that could mean, so he looked around, and sure enough, on the ground, he saw drips of blue paint everywhere. So he waited until none of the workers were looking, and he started to follow the trail of blue paint. He walked and he walked and he walked, and he wasn't paying any attention to where he was walking or how long it had gone. He was just really focused on following that paint because he knew it would lead him to his book. Finally, he was really far away from the White House and had no idea where he was, and he looked up and found himself in... oh boy, a spooky graveyard. Now, Boogie Brown wasn't really afraid of much in life. He was a little afraid of graveyards, but not too much. But now it was getting dark outside, and he was wearing his itchiest suit, and he was missing his favorite book. So tonight, Boogie Brown was a little bit nervous. In fact, he was so scared that his fingers were kind of shaking, and he knows, like everybody knows, that the best way to calm yourself down when you're scared is to close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. So that's exactly what Boogie Brown did. And when he closed his eyes, guess what? The book sent him another message. Want to know what it was? It was jewels. 3 beautiful jewels. A diamond, a ruby, and a sapphire. Well, Boogie Brown thought, where on earth am I going to find jewels in a graveyard? But he started looking. He looked everywhere, behind every tombstone, under every bench, on top of every fence post. And he got frustrated because it's late and he can't find any jewels, and that's silly anyway. So he sat down on a bench, and right when he sat down, a big bright moonbeam shined right onto his jacket of his fancy suit, right on the spot where his mom made him wear a special pin that was in the shape of an American flag, like all the important people did. And when he looked in that moonbeam, he saw that actually on his flag pin, there were 3 jewels, a diamond, a ruby, and a sapphire. Wow. So he pulled out his jacket to see what was going on with that pen, and he felt something in his pocket. It wasn't big, but it was hard and square. So he reached into his chest pocket and he pulled out his magical blue book. It had shrunk itself down to, well, about this size. He thought, why on earth did you shrink yourself? So he asked the book, why on earth did you shrink yourself? And he flipped it open, and the only words on the page were, because I wanted to go to the party. The party! Oh no, Boogie Brown had to hurry back to the White House. He had no idea how long he'd been gone, but he wanted to get to that party. So he grabbed his blue book, stuck it back in his pocket, and started running. He followed that blue trail all the way back to the White House. When they got there, Boogie Brown and the magical book were really disappointed because the party was over. Everything was dark and quiet. But just then, a huge firework exploded in the sky. They hadn't missed it. They'd gotten there just in time for the last part. So Boogie Brown and his magical blue book, who was never even lost after all, enjoyed a really beautiful fireworks show. The end.